Alright guys, hold on, let me move that. Alright, so in today's video, we're going to talk about sports, school, and work, and what grade you're in, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and if you should do both, all three at the same time, or if you should do one or the other, what kind of sports, what kind of job, and from personal experience, we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I think first we'll start off with just your overall four years of high school, right? So I would say for me, my freshman and sophomore year were like when COVID was like at its peak or whatever. So it was pretty weird, but it was also fun because I always managed to make fun out of something. Actually COVID, I had a really good time in COVID because I wasn't like, wear your mask, get the vaccine, crap like that. I was just living life, I saw the opportunity during COVID to, let's have some fun. So it was actually nice. But I would say overall freshman year is probably going to be either your easiest or maybe almost the second most difficult. So, and it all depends on you, but really I would say your first 2 years, grind out everything you can, and then so your junior and senior year are so easy, like you don't have to do squat. But for your freshman year, for sports, I would say try freshman and sophomore year, try a bunch of different ones. And if you're new to like sports, if you've never done any, try what you think you'd be good at, and then if you get really good at one of those, or if you like one more than the other, then continue doing that the rest of your high school year if you really enjoy it and like you're passionate about it. So do those. But aside from all of that, so we'll talk about doing school, sports, and work, right? So I used to work 2 jobs and do a bunch of sports and do school. And honestly, I would say it's not worth it doing everything if you're a really good athlete. And what I mean by that is, you can do it. Some people are managed to do all of that stuff. But for me, it was kind of, if you find a job that's very lenient with like sports and school schedules, it's good. But with me, it's like I was so focused on wanting to, do these sports and get better that, working 1-2 jobs, even doing one job, working a lot of hours and then coming home late tired, not having energy for the meet or the practice next day. And, it wasn't really a balance. It was just a whole bunch of my time, like just all, messed up, if that makes sense. So I wasn't really able to, put all my effort into the things I really wanted to do. Then again, like, okay, there would be practice all week, and then there would be meets, and then there'll be something on the weekend, or if I'm working on the weekend, then I'd be doing 2 jobs, and then it would just be a pain in the ass. And I think the worst thing was being so tired, then it was just like, oh, I don't want to go to work now, I don't want to do sports, or it's like I had no energy or motivation or whatever for the next day to do, the sport I was going to do. And I felt like I wasn't getting better, and I wasn't. I wasn't improving on any of my sports because I was so, like, you could say overwhelmed with like doing so many other things that I couldn't fully focus on the thing I wanted to do, right? So I would say overall, doing out of your 4-year of high school, do at least a sport 1 or 2 years. Like, don't go your whole year of high school not doing any sports. Like, at that point, you're a loser. I'm not even joking. Like, you gotta have fun, there's people who literally don't do shit with their life, and it's crazy. Especially in high school. It's like, how can you be so boring? Like, go do something fun, you know what I mean? Anyway, so I used to work at Panda Express. A lot of you guys know where that is. It's pretty good. And then I used to work at a local market, and I did the market first for a year, but in between, like half and half, I did the market and Panda Express. And that was still enjoyable. There was a lot of good times, but then again, it's like, what is the cost, or the opportunity cost, we'll say that, of doing this or that, right? For me, or I guess in general, if you're working, you make the money. You make money in high school, okay? Like, oh hey, you wanna come in? Okay, come in. Guys, check this out. Come in. She wants to be part of the video. Come on. You wanna say hi? Partial interruption. Who's that? Hi, Sasha. Yeah, she's a silly dog. Alright. Okay. Anyways, so here, let me move this out of the sun so it doesn't get hot. So anyways, okay. But it's just really interesting to, it's like when you travel into another country, right? It's a whole new culture, tradition, you know, language, foods, and it's a whole new thing, right? It opens up your mind to so many things. So with me, it's kind of like that with me to sports, and you really find out a lot about yourself. You know, it's like, and also just being able to do it is just so cool, because think of it like this. You have four years of high school sports, and I mean, you can, if you have a lot of opportunity after, you can do sports after high school. But still, let's say in this matter, 4 years, right? But after you graduate, you have the rest of whatever you want to do with your time, with your life, to work. So it's kind of like, why wouldn't you do it? You know what I mean? It's like, when I did do a few years of not doing high school sports, I regretted it a lot. I'm like, shit, I wish I was doing sports instead of just wasting my time working at, you know, a job I don't like. That's just, I'm getting paid like shit. And Panda paid good though, but I was getting paid like crap at one job. The hours sucked at the other job. I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't enjoying life. I wasn't able to focus on myself or work on myself at all. You know, so to me, I think building yourself up and being a really good character and having a good head on your shoulders, doing that first is so important. So then later, when you want to make money, you'll make more than you ever expected, because you really level yourself up. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy though. I just can't believe some guys just do not, and it's so boring. It's like, hey, what do you do for fun or on your free time? Or I just work. Oh, I just go to work. I don't do anything. I'm boring. I just work. When I get home, I smoke weed and stuff like that. That's all I do. I spend my money on dumb shit, and then, you know what I mean? It's like, that's the majority of people now. It's, I don't know. It's just, and sports give you something to do. It gives you a time. It teaches you how to get on a schedule, and it gives you could say, for like wrestling, you get discipline. You get so much discipline. It's like, in every single crack you can find in wrestling, everything, there's some sort of discipline out of it. It is crazy. I'll give you an example. Like, you could be wrestling at a tournament, and sometimes you have to wait hours to wrestle for your match, right? You have to wait hours. Like, they set up these mats in the gym, whatever, and they say, okay, here's this, you know, section of wrestlers, this weight class, and you're like, okay, you're after this, after that. If this guy wins, this happens, and you wrestle this guy. But it's like, at the end of the day, it's you and yourself and in your mind alone in that wrestling meet until you go into the match. So it's, no matter what, there's discipline everywhere. And especially if you have a really good team and really good coaches, you will have a great time in wrestling. I think definitely out of all the sports, I would say you have to at least try once in your life, especially in high school, is wrestling, or I don't know, some really big schools, wealthy schools have, like, I don't know, I think martial arts or boxing clubs, but it's not very common, I know. But wrestling is a very good one, and track is very competitive if you're a good athlete. There's, you know, track is a mix of really high competitive, almost like it's Olympic level kind of stuff. It's a mix of that, and then there's just the kids who are really uncoordinated and they can run a bunch of laps. I'm not hating on distance kids, but I'm just saying there's a good mix of, you know, athletes in track. So I mean, and it's like that anywhere, but it's cool. It's very cool. Wrestling's a great thing, and I've had a very good, I did wrestling 3 years, My first year was in middle school, and it was absolutely amazing. Probably one of the most life-changing, and I'm not exaggerating, probably one of the most life-changing sports I've ever done in my entire life. Definitely the best. And that's also because we had some great, outstanding coaches, and the team bond was very good. And we were like, even though wrestling, when you are wrestling, it's individual after, we were still a really strong team, you know? And we had so many good workouts, and it was almost like we were in boot camp. So I really want to thank a lot of the coaches for that, because they did an amazing job with that. But then as my high school year, when I did wrestling, new coaches, new kids, new thing, and that high school wrestling was a shit show. I did wish I kind of did my senior year. I did it for 2 weeks, and I'm like, I ain't doing this crap again, because, you know, long story short, the high school wrestling, it was just trash. And there's one coach, former from the middle school, he was coaching. That's about it, him and one other guy, but the rest of it, absolutely terrible. The high school wrestling team is an absolute joke. So there's that. So for the other two, so whether if you should do only one, both, or all three, well, I mean, you have to do school. So at the end of the day, if there's still a way you are very passionate about sports, you want to do it, and you still want to make money somehow, the best thing you can do is find out a way to be your own boss, or even like landscaping. If your neighbor's a grandma and she needs like, oh, come on my lawn or something, or I need you to help me with some moving rocks or building this shed or whatever, do that. Because it's like, you know, grandmas are usually chill, and you're on your own schedule. You're like, hey, you know, I have sports, I have this, I have blah 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 for this, and then I can work the next week. I can work when I'm free. So like, okay, that's so easy. Versus like when I was working for Panda Express, it was like I had to leave because they stopped working with my school and sports schedule, and it was very annoying. But it's mostly because there was a lot of feminist females, and you know how they are. Before, I had this really chill Chinese guy. I loved Panda. It was so fun. We were a bunch of guys having fun. You know, we had the cooks, the guys in the front. We'd be joking around, talking. The manager, he was such a chill guy. He had to go. All the females came in and could not stand that anymore. God, it was a headache. There was a few people there, a few girls who were good, but the rest of them were fucking headache. So anyways, and that's another thing. It's like, if you kind of do your own thing, you don't have to deal with like, you know, bullshit like that where, oh, if you're not wearing your mask, you could get fired. You know what I mean? You could do whatever you want, and you could actually make more money. You're not getting, if you're doing landscaping for your neighbor, you're not getting taxed. There's most likely going to be cash under the table. So that's what I would say for any kind of work. Try something online, try something that you can come up with on your own, or do something for your neighbor, right? And then if that's not really in the question for you, then just do sports, man. Like, you will not regret it. It is so good. It's so beneficial. You get so many benefits from sports, and I would hope it keeps you out of drugs. And that's what is kind of a thing. Some parents will say, you know, sports keeps you out of trouble and drugs. It usually does, but I mean, with how things are nowadays, you know, kids are doing drugs all the time. Like how I was saying earlier, like the wrestling team's a joke, mostly because a lot of those fuckers do drugs. And it's like, as a wrestler, before we were taught, like, that is, you cannot call yourself a hard working, disciplined wrestler, an athlete, if you go and party and do drugs like that and just be degenerate outside of wrestling. You know, it's like, you don't deserve that title. But so if I had to say anything else, and I made this video like 10 times, not 10, but I don't know, I'm just trying to make it shorter and put it into simple words. Just don't be boring. Don't be outgoing, be unique, be different than everybody else. You know, what everyone else is doing, don't do that. Do something better. You know, strive to be the greatest, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's up to you though. It's up to you. Just, yeah, I have so much more to say about this, but I feel like I covered the majority of it pretty good. But I guess to wrap it up, final words. deep down, go all out on sports. Do everything you can. Make yourself proud, make your family proud, make your team proud. You know, try new things. Don't be scared to try new things. Don't be, you know, hey, if you weren't maybe good at this, or if you didn't make the team, keep trying next year. Keep practicing. Do off-season stuff. Or maybe, okay, if it's not for you, then go try another one. You have so many options. You know what I mean? There's so many things you could do. So that's probably what I'd have to say, is just be the greatest. That's it, man. So yeah, I think that wraps it up. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. I'll have more topics about sports and more specific sports related stuff, and kind of more about experiences. And yeah, that wraps it up for episode 1. Hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you guys next time.